Good afternoon. Welcome to the video check-in for today, October 28th. I have been feeling a little bit optimistic lately about the pandemic. The numbers are going down. We're able to do things that certainly last year we were not able to do. I am hopeful, am optimistic that things will continue to improve. I sure hope so. And we will be able to engage not just in fun things and things we might have missed, but really we can get back to what this community is all about, what Judaism is so much about, which is community and strengthening community and being part of a strong community that we might strengthen one another within that community. Like so many things during this time of pandemic, religious institutions, synagogues, churches have suffered not just financial losses but we've really suffered as a community. We have not been able to serve people the way we might have liked. We've tried through video means like this and gathering outdoors and doing everything that we can, but it still has been not as much as we would like and not enough. So I've been thinking about as we head into Thanksgiving coming in a few weeks, and as we are able to do more within this community, I've been thinking about, well, not just building of community, but, I am the Cantor after all, about services and prayer. Now, often we might approach, as a clergy member, services with the viewpoint, which is a little bit traditional. What can we do to get people to come to services more? And that's a fair question. But I think kind of the wrong question. I'm not sure the goal is to get people to come to services. I think a much better goal is actually, how do we make our services core to what we do? How do we make them meaningful to people? How do we make them invaluable to our community, that they really can serve their purpose in doing all those things that I already mentioned, strengthening one another, strengthening community, being there for one another? How do we make sure that services are going to do that? Well, there are lots of ways, and we certainly try lots of things, not just through invitations to people who might be, having challenging times or might be celebrating something, but making sure that, our music, our prayers, our readings, the issues that we talk about are relevant and meaningful, and engaging with them together in openness and in a sharing way that hopefully people can relate to and will find engaging. As a cantor, this is all particularly true of music as well. So I've been thinking specifically about how we use music and how to make sure it's going to be engaging. Now, music, I will say, is actually one of the greatest challenges that I engage as a cantor, but also the most valuable tool that I have as a cantor as well. And when I say it's a challenge, it's because no matter what I might choose to sing, no matter what I might pick as our musical liturgy, the musical impact of our prayers, I'm sure to get somebody who says, that was beautiful, I loved it, it was just right, and somebody else who will say, invariably, oh, you didn't do the traditional setting of Lecha Dodi or Hashkivenu or Shema or whatever it might be. Now, that traditional setting is always different for different people, so it's a little hard to make sure I do the traditional setting. And for some people, doing music is a value of its own. Actually, in one of our Kabbalah Shabbat Psalms, we sing Shir L'Adonai Shir Chadash, sing to God a new song. There is value in hearing and feeling music and prayer for the first time. So, nevertheless, there is this tension between traditional and new. And so it is both a challenge and an invaluable tool. So how do you bridge that gap? Well, one of the ways that I have found that I think works really well, and I'll just give you a little insight into it, is to help the community realize that maybe that gap between traditional music and new music, between maybe more classical music and more folk or pop music, whatever your two different kinds of music might be, one of the things I'm able to do is to make that gap much smaller. And the way I can do that is by the way that we might sing the songs. We could take the most poppy, folk, light prayer and maybe use instruments and sing it in a way that adds richness and depth of meaning. And we can take maybe the most traditional, most beloved, heartfelt prayer, and by playing it on the guitar, maybe rather than an organ and with choir, by adding percussion, adding other instruments, can make it more accessible, maybe for the member of our community who wants it to be more accessible, and so they can sing along with it and likes the aesthetic of more folk music, more guitar-based music. So the music itself might have come from very different traditions, but how we sing it together and how I present it as Cantor can really impact the mood of the service and make it all work together, so that I can use lots of different music from different sources that might seem on paper or traditionally so different, but yet we can create a cohesive sense of worship in community. So I'll give you one example of that to end our little check-in for today, and that is this piece, Or Zarua. Now, Or Zarua is a beautiful text from the Psalms, which says, "Light is sown for the righteous. Or Zarua la tzadik, ul yishrei lev simcha," and for the upright of heart, joy. That is their reward. Now, Max Janowski is one of the great synagogue composers of the 20th century. You all know him from Avinu Malkeinu fame. His Avinu Malkeinu has become the standard high holiday piece. Avinu Malkeinu. A beautiful, heartfelt, moving piece of music, no doubt. But that style of music, something which maybe belongs at the high holidays, which has a certain elevated stature, that's kind of what we tend to think about with Max Janowski. We don't tend to think of him as a, folk musician. It's organ and choir and maybe a little heavier. He wrote this beautiful setting of Or Zarua, which I have always loved, and you've heard me sing it before if you've come to services. And I often play it on the guitar, and it has a certain feel to it. But that is what's different. Like most of Max Janowski's music, it was intended to be accompanied by an organ and a choir and have a certain elevated stature. And one of the things I've done, amongst other more popular and folk styles, is sing even Janowski, accompanying myself on the guitar, helping to put it within the overall framework of a little different feel. So I'll leave you with this Or Zarua, which is true to Max Janowski's melody and harmony, and certainly true to the text, but helps frame it in a new light because, well, as you can see, I don't have a choir and an organ with me, but just my guitar. Or Zarua.
Zarua la tzadik.